Hi there, and welcome to my short tutorial about Helix, the DNA of hypnosis. My name is Tom, and I'm glad you chose to spend some time with me today. I'm sure there will be a lot in for you during this session. We'll talk about the interaction of conviction, action and experience in hypnosis, and some very cool techniques to spontaneously change a person's belief within seconds, without any formal induction, using a very specific trance and 3 easy-to-follow steps. You'll be able to create mind-blowing experiences for your hypnotee during an entertainment session, or use Helix concepts to improve your work as a hypnotherapist. At the end, I'll direct you to some additional info and material, and I have a great discount offer for you, so please make sure you stay the course to benefit from these extra assets. Before we start, I'd like you to know that we will do a small hands-on experiment later, and you're invited to join in as you please if you want to get some practical experience of what you can do with Helix. For this, you will need a pendulum. It doesn't have to be a crystal or moonstone. Anything on a string will work. For my street hypnosis sessions, I usually use a simple screw nut tied to a thread like this one here. So, if you have a chance to pause this video, do this now and get yourself any kind of pendulum. I'll be right here when you get back. Okay, great. Before we go into some practical exercise, let's take a few minutes to give you an overview about Helix and why I came up with it in the first place. I've been involved in psychology, neurolinguistics, hypnosis and coaching for over 20 years now. Even though I've done a lot of street hypnosis sessions in this time, given seminars and coaching and published 3 books on the subject, I'm still fascinated by the amazing abilities of the human mind. Leading people into a deep trance within seconds and changing their reality with only a few words still amazes me every time I do instant hypnosis. For many years my focus was a lot on techniques and the classical approach, creating a relaxation trance, deepening that, and using subsequent suggestions to alter the hypnotee's experienced reality. Probably like yourself, I have conducted numerous sessions that didn't work out the way I planned it. And I wanted to learn more about the why of hypnosis. Simply using the right techniques is no guarantee for a successful hypnosis. Only when you understand the functionalities and mechanisms behind the techniques, you can adapt them to any situation as needed. After years of research, numerous discussions with colleagues, and a lot of trial and error, this led to the model I call Helix. It's a concept that enables you to elicit rapid and profound changes in experienced reality, beliefs and actions, and it can be used both in therapeutic work and for entertainment purposes. A while ago, I bought these special glasses to improve my vision when driving in the dark. It doesn't really work, but these glasses have a completely different effect. My wife calls them cheer-up glasses because they make the world look much brighter and friendlier. In fact, these yellowish lenses raise my mood automatically and I just can't do anything about it. Beliefs are the glasses through which we see the world. They form our subjective reality, or what we consider to be true. We filter and interpret all perceptions based on our beliefs. Therefore, each of us experiences the world in another way and reacts differently to external influences. Our conviction also controls our actions. If I can change this conviction, then I change both the action of a person and his experienced reality. After a while, we don't see these glasses any longer. But depending on our convictions, we experience the world differently. And if I can change this conviction, then I also change this experienced reality. Someone with a fear of flying, for example, is convinced that air travel is life-threatening and will either not enter an airplane at all or will cramp or break out in sweat with the slightest turbulences or noises during takeoff and landing. If I can convince someone to be a non-smoker, then there's absolutely no motivation for him or her to smoke anymore. And if I can convince my hypnotee that the number 3 doesn't exist, he will naturally count 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 and wonder why he can't solve the arithmetic problem 1 plus 2 anymore. That's why, for me, conviction is the critical success factor for hypnosis. And therefore, it is one of the 3 essential elements of Helix. So, what else belongs to the essence of hypnosis? The core of how everything works, the DNA of hypnosis, so to say. Is there one common formula that explains it all? If you ask 10 hypnotists for a definition of hypnosis, you will probably get 11 answers. I won't add another one. But before we go into how Helix can provide a common framework for hypnosis, let's take a short look at the development of hypnosis throughout history. The first known hypnotic practices were already used in ancient Egypt. A kind of sleep therapy called incubation was practiced as early as 2900 BC. By the doctors of the time in temples set up for this sole purpose. And it was not before the medieval times that a first distinction was made between sleep and hypnosis, and when first concepts of magnetism came up. You might know Franz Anton Mesmer, who then experimented a lot with stroking magnets over the patient's body until he discovered that the same healing effects could be achieved with bare hands. Later, during the 19th century, James Braid then established the term hypnosis, derived from hypnos, the Greek god of sleep. When he later found out that hypnotic effects can also be achieved without a sleep-like state, he wanted to rename the method to monoideism, but hypnosis had already become so popular that it has been used to date. At the beginning of the 20th century, Dave Ellman became known as hypnotist and author. He mostly used a quite fast hypnosis induction which produced a deep trance in less than 3 minutes. This so-called Ellman induction is still popular among therapists as well as stage hypnotists. In contrast to Ellman, Milton Erickson mostly used an indirect type of trance induction based on narration and metaphors. His practices became, among other things, the basis for NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming, which emerged in the 1970s. Of course, many well-known and deserved pioneers of hypnosis were left unmentioned in this very short enumeration. They may forgive me, but even this small excerpt shows quite clearly what I want to get at. All these areas span a whole universe of different theories, explanatory models, and fields of application. But in spite of all these sometimes striking differences, there is a common small intersection. And this commonality, however trivial it may seem at first glance, is something that has survived all the centuries of development, that can be found in almost every theory and practical application of hypnosis, whether in antiquity, mesmerism, show hypnosis, or modern hypnotherapy. And this communality, one could almost say the essence of hypnosis, is the feeling of involuntariness. By this I mean the hypnotee's perception that the desired suggestion happens more by itself than being actively and consciously directed. A feeling of something happening rather than being done. Hence, hypnosis always has to do with the fact that the hypnotized person experiences the effect of suggestion rather than controlling them. In my opinion, this is exactly what accounts for the magic of hypnosis. This feeling that something is happening to me, that a change is taking place without me having to do or being able to do anything about it. Whether this is analgesia, a feeling of self-confidence, a new body awareness, or simply a deep relaxation. One experiences an alternative reality without consciously changing it. And this change can take many forms, and as history shows, the paths to it are at least as manifold. And this feeling of involuntariness is not only an essential element of hypnosis, but it also plays an important role in many other areas. In meditation or yoga, for example, it's a matter of discarding any own thoughts and concentrating only on the here and now, merging body and mind. With Tai Chi or autogenic training, you seek a flow state in order to achieve inner peace and better performance. And in the widespread Buddhism, nirvana is the goal of all religious aspirations. You could imply that this feeling of happening is a central element of any practice dealing with trance to change beliefs in a broader sense. One aspect I find particularly interesting is the difference between the active, consciously controlled action, for example, doing, and the feeling of happening or being. This can be imagined as opposite poles that are reflected in many terms that we often use in hypnosis or goal work. The question is how you can get into this state of being, of experiencing. If I can find a safe, quick and practicable way to get from doing to being, then I can control this process as a hypnotist and make hypnosis much clearer and more direct. And the answer to this is an essential element of Helix. Even if every hypnotist has his own conception about how hypnotic processes work, most will agree that the feeling of involuntariness is a central element of hypnosis. Combined with my own experiences, this has resulted in a functional concept of hypnosis that leaves out all unnecessary parts and concentrates on the core idea. This is how Helix was created. For me, it is simple and effective like never before, compact and without deviations. Helix helps me to elicit hypnotic phenomena quickly and safely to change the experienced reality of my hypnotee and thus his conviction and beliefs. Here is the basic structure of Helix. It is not without reason that this looks similar to the Chinese yin-yang symbol, since Helix consists of elements that interlock and influence each other. Conviction, action, and experience. The term conviction stands for the beliefs, our view of the world, and what we consider to be true. Action means consciously executed activities, concentration on certain things or ideas, and focus. Consequently, trance is also located here because trance is nothing more than selective attention. Experience, on the other hand, describes the feeling of involuntariness. For example, an event not controlled by oneself, or also the being. Like in a triple helix, that's where the name comes from, these three elements are closely interwoven and reinforce each other step by step. Now, let's get into some action right away. Let me show you what I mean by these three elements. Did you manage to get a pendulum of any sort? Now is the time to take it out. If you haven't, pause this video and get anything on a string, like this bolt nut tied to a string, okay? It should be about the length of your forearm. Great. Now, as you know, hypnosis has a lot to do with gaining access to our subconscious. Have you ever met your subconscious? No? It's your best friend. Would you like to meet your subconscious now? You can do this without hypnosis. Everything you have to do is take the pendulum and hold it at the end of the string. And now lift the pendulum so that you can easily watch it. Like this. Good. Now, please hold your hand still so that the pendulum moves as little as possible. Just like that. Right. I would like to ask you not to move your hands during the next few minutes. So do not swing the pendulum intentionally, okay? From now on, please look at the pendulum only and concentrate. Imagine you could give orders to this pendulum. Ask it to swing by itself. Now, command the pendulum, not out loud, just in your mind. It shall now swing back and forth. Tell the pendulum, go, swing back and forth. And look what happens. Yes, exactly. Very well. And now command the pendulum to swing even more and even further. Just like that. And just as easily, you can order the pendulum to calm down again. Just do that now. There you go. Okay, that's it. You can take down the pendulum again. It was just a small exercise to show you how Helix works with a process you probably already know. Okay. Now, what did just happen? It was an easy and straightforward pass through the Helix structure, actually. By first asking you to focus on the pendulum. Second, by helping you to imagine you could mentally control it. And third, by letting you experience this to convince you of your subconscious powers. So let's have a look at our Helix structure and talk about each of these three elements: action, experience, and conviction. The term action or doing refers to all consciously executed activities and thoughts. Everything you can trigger by a clear instruction. For example, look at this point, close your eyes, concentrate on my voice, and so on. And in terms of Helix, a specific trance is the most important action for a successful hypnosis. In my world, trance is a state of selective attention, focusing on a certain thing or thought, whereby other perceptions and thoughts move to the background. So a trance is usually a very conscious act, and there is not one trance. Each of us is in a trance at any given time, depending on what you are concentrating on. Now I know most hypnotists would choose a general relaxation trance to start out with. Deeper and deeper, feel the relaxation growing and so on are common terms at the beginning of a hypnosis. But take a second to think about this. Your goal as a hypnotist is to guide someone to experience an altered reality, to change the hypnotee's conviction and beliefs. And let's take a classic example from entertainment hypnosis, for example, sticking someone's hand to the table. There the goal is that the hypnotee experiences a stuck hand, not being able to release it despite the greatest effort. In order to achieve this, you would normally start with the induction of a general trance and then deepen it with many suggestions of relaxation. Then you would move on to suggestions that reinforce the feeling of the sticky hand. But why? Why would you first lead your hypnotee in one direction, passive relaxation, to then exactly go into the opposite direction, to a feeling of sticking, effort and active tension? One is a specific trance of sticking, while the other is a general trance of relaxation. Both have little in common and go in totally different directions. Leading someone into a relaxation does not necessarily help him to get to a sticky hand. Here it becomes clear a classical general trance induction is not very effective for the creation of a concrete experience. A hypnotee who is being lulled with relaxing words and passively awaits something to happen will not easily be able to dive into any other experience. So for a concrete experience, you need a specially tailored trance. By actively acting and focusing, you want to create a specific trance for a particular experience. A relaxation trance is not wrong in principle, though. If your aim is to elicit relaxation, then this is exactly the right thing to do. Also, at the beginning of a hypnosis, a calming trance can be an important first step for people who are nervous or anxious. But if you want to create an experience that has nothing to do with relaxation, a sticking hand, an arm catalepsy, for example, then words like deeper and deeper, you can drift more and more into relaxation, are an unnecessary detour. It is therefore much more effective to let the hypnotee directly focus on the desired experience. Trance is the focus on an experience. If you want to get from acting to experiencing, then the action must already go in the right direction. In this part of Helix, you achieve no more and no less than leading the hypnotee to focus physically and mentally on the desired experience. Like in our short example with the pendulum. When I asked you to imagine that you could control the pendulum with your mind, this was nothing else than you focusing on exactly the desired experience, eliciting a light trance that was very specific for our purposes. Now, experiencing or being or happening is what I initially called the feeling of involuntariness, an event which you don't consciously influence yourself. It could also be described as something is happening to me as opposed to I am doing something. Why do you want to elicit an experience? Because experiences convince. Our beliefs, convictions, the glasses through which we see the world are the result of our experiences. What we experience reinforces or changes our understanding of how the world works and influences our beliefs. If you want to change the conviction of your hypnotist, then you have to make sure that he first has a corresponding experience. This applies equally to entertainment hypnosis and therapy. Now, how do I get from acting to experiencing? If you want to evoke a concrete experience which the hypnotist perceives as involuntary, instead of actively controlling, you have to shape and control the transformation from doing to being. If your hypnotist is already in a specific trance, that means concentrating on exactly this experience, the next step is relatively simple. What a targeted direct instruction is for triggering an action, suggestions are for creating an experience. Suggestions make it happen. And based on a specific trance, all you do is to change your choice of words from direct instructions to indirect suggestions, from doing to happening. This way, you address the subconscious directly and enable the hypnotist to experience the happening of the suggestion as involuntary, not consciously controlled. Since he is already completely focused on this experience through the specific trance, it is all the easier for him to accept this suggestion then. Whether this is a tapping into positive resources, an ideomotoric signal, or a hypnotic effect for entertainment purposes, the hypnotist experiences a changed reality, and this is the most important step in changing his conviction. Experiences convince. For your hypnotist to change his beliefs, he must experience a changed reality. As you already know, conviction is the critical success factor for hypnosis. It is the one element that we need to alter the reality in hypnosis change work. Once conviction or beliefs are changed, everything else will follow. We act by conviction. In NLP, there's the principle of positive intention. It states that every behavior, however reprehensible or wrong it may seem, is based on a positive motivation. For example, obsessive actions, phobias, or addictions always have the aim of doing something good for the respective person. What exactly this intention is and how it can be achieved by other means, this might be the focus of a therapeutic treatment or of such disorders. We only act if we are convinced of the benefit of our actions. And that closes the loop, because to follow your instructions as a hypnotist, your hypnotist must first be convinced that hypnosis will work and that you are the right specialist to guide him through the process. That's why most stage hypnotists and many hypnotherapists work with some kind of pre-talk and special convincers prior to the actual hypnosis session. So now we have talked about what the essence of hypnosis is and how the three elements of Helix, conviction, action and experience, interlock to enable you to alter a hypnotist's belief. If you would like to dig deeper into this subject, I have some material to share and a very special offer exclusively for you. First, I'd like to point you to my book on the subject Helix, the DNA of hypnosis. where you will find all that we talked about today in much more detail, including an in-depth discussion of the 3 Helix elements, many practical exercises and scripts, and detailed instructions on how you can develop your own Helix for whatever hypnosis purpose you might have, be it for entertainment purposes or for your work as a hypnotherapist. This book is published in English and German, so whatever you prefer, you can order it via Amazon, for example. My other book, The Handbook of Instant Hypnosis, which is currently available only in German, is a complete guide that covers all you need to master instant inductions and street hypnosis. And finally, if you visit my website, you will find several scripts and other documents to download for personal use. Just go to hypnomentalist.de to access all these assets. But there's more. Since you stayed with me until the very end of this video, I assume that you are really interested in developing your hypnosis skills. So, especially for you and for a limited time, I can offer you a 20% discount on any personal coaching session. So go to hypnomentalist.de for more info on this. When you are ready, use the code I printed down here to get a 20% off discount of the normal coaching fee. To sum it all up, beliefs are the glasses through which we see the world. We act by conviction. Trance is the focus on an experience. Suggestions make it happen. And experiences convince. Since I use this view on hypnosis, it is much easier for me to lead hypnotees into a direct, targeted trance without detours and thus achieve results much faster. In addition, when things don't work out as planned, these 3 simple aspects, conviction, action, experience, make it easy for me to see where I need to rework and adapt my approach. I am less fixated on a specific technique and can adjust better to my hypnotee. Perhaps Helix can also give you a glimpse outside the box so that you can work even more effectively and safely, be it as a coach, therapist, or entertainment hypnotist. If you have any questions or would like to stay in contact, please visit my website for further information. Thanks for watching. All the best on your path to become a better hypnotist. See you.